As you probably know, Sony, they've pulled the plug here on the controversial new film, The Interview, from theaters. Now, after threats from the hackers who intercepted Sony corporate emails, now the feds, they've connected those threats directly to North Korea. But did Sony, that's what we're asking here, did Sony, though, make the right call, or did they give in, did they capitulate to these terror threats? Now, a little background here, and Andrew, he filed this report.
And here it is the end of a movie like Hollywood has never seen. Sony pulling the plug on its controversial comedy, The Interview.
You want us to kill the leader of North Korea?
Yes.
What? This after hackers that the FBI says are connected to North Korea cracked Sony's computer system, leaked emails and private information, then threatened to attack theaters that showed the film. The studio saying in a statement it was the victim of an unprecedented criminal assault and, quote, "We stand by our filmmakers and their right to free expression and are extremely disappointed by this outcome." The decision coming after some of the biggest theater chains in the country announced they would not show the movie. All of this sparking outrage in Hollywood.
Those theater owners should be ashamed of themselves.
Rob Lowe tweeting, "Wow, everyone caved. The hackers won. An utter and complete victory for them. Wow." This as others stood behind Sony's response.
It's wonderful to be lofty about ideals, but if some sort of tragedy had taken place, then you could make a case that Sony and theater owners would have had blood on their hands.
Now, just so we're clear, Sony says not only will the film not be shown in theaters, this won't even be released online or even on DVD. Now, some estimate overall, Sony, they could be more than $100 million when this thing's all said and done. Okay. Let's just focus on the Sony part. Theater chains, Dom, the bigger ones start saying, no, we don't want any part of this. After they said, if you go, the hacker said, you know, you better hope you don't live anywhere near there because we're going to attack the theaters. The FBI, for whatever it's worth, they found no credible connection that these were actionable threats, but everybody played it safe and said, then we're not going to put it in our theaters. You're Sony, what do you do? And you got to think not just about this movie. You got to think about precedents going forward, because it's not hard to be some conspiracy theorists to see how this could spin out to a whole bunch of other examples down the line.
You can't back down, because if you back down, it sets a dangerous precedent for the entire industry. What happens with the next movie? But with that said, Richard, see, I have to be honest. A lot of times we as Americans don't understand why we're hated throughout the world. It's this type of movie. Why would you make a comedy movie about assassinating the leader of another country? Whether we respect that leader or disrespect him, why would you do that? And it's offensive. And some of us here, we think it's funny. I mean, but it's not funny. But I will say this much.
So you want to never make an offensive movie again?
But, okay, but do other countries make movies about assassinating our presidents?
It happens from time to time, but...
Major movies?
Yeah,
but then the second question, I really believe this is more about those emails. I think Sony is scared to death at what emails are out there that these hackers already have.
Dominic was almost right. I was trying.
Almost.
I was trying to jump over
The
there.
king of the backhanded
what's in the coffee?
Look, they folded to terrorist threats, and they did the right thing. They couldn't take a risk. A corporation as a business couldn't take a risk, and as human beings they couldn't take a risk.
Okay, wait a second, though. Let me play devil's
And they
advocate.
folded to terrorism.
Let me say another movie comes out that's controversial. Let's say there's a movie that goes after Scientology. In fact, I even think there's one in production right now on this. Some person says, forget about the emails, the internal emails. They say, you know what? You play this movie in a movie theater, you're going to have blood on your hands because we're going to take action. There's a precedent right now that better safe than sorry, and you pull the movie.
You can take both sides of this argument and sound reasonable. And you just did. And so I don't dispute anything you just said. On the other hand, what do you say, what would this television show be discussing if some nut showed up and shot 23 people at the opening of The Interview? Whatever the hell it's called.
I go to the movies every year on Christmas. I don't have a lot else to do on Christmas Day, and I go
sad.
and I go. Well, no, it's
you're a chosen one too.
And I go on the Upper West Side in these megaplexes that have 15, 16 movies. Now, I probably wouldn't have let this stop me, but I would have thought twice about it, because if there's ever going to be a movie theater that's targeted on Christmas Day, it's going to be on the Upper West Side. So yeah, I would have thought twice about it.
Keep going down the thread, though, Andrew. You're Sony. Do you release this on video? Do you put this?
The mistake that Sony made was in the script approval process and in the greenlight process. Why would you approve the script that had this only to back down later on.
I'm
They
with
could
you.
have totally foreseen that this was going to come.
I'm with you. And there's a story to itself if we had more time on how it got approved. But the mistake's been made, it's been approved. Now somebody says a threat, and the feds don't believe it's an actual threat. What do? Do you not play it anywhere? Do you wait and then re-release it? Do you kill it outright? Like Dominic said, this is a choice between bad and worse. What do? You're the Sony CEO right now.
I think if you're Sony, you bite the bullet and you just eat the loss and you try to get this movie away from everybody as fast as you can. If it's on DVD, if it's on pay-per-view, then it's a reminder of people of the corporate mistake. I think you want to move on. Of course, it's going to leak.
It's already leaking.
Is it?
Oh, they're gonna, do they think that they're not going to still release more stuff? Of course they are. These are hackers.
No, I'm not talking about the hacking. I'm talking about the movie itself. Some bootleg copy is going to show up somewhere.
It's already on the major newspaper websites, the killing scene.
Is it?
Yeah. As of tonight.
Jeez.
I'm telling you, there's going to be a serious movie. This thing was a piece of you-know-what that was panned by every reviewer that saw it. There will be a serious movie, an important movie that somebody will find objectionable. They'll make threats, and now we've got precedent where my biggest problem wasn't even Sony, as idiotic as they were. It's the movie chains. Just one after the other falling over themselves. They're not going to show it. I know it's easy for me to say in the studio.
In the Colorado movie shooting, the defense has been it was not a foreseeable event. They're fighting their lawsuits by saying, what do you want from us? We couldn't have predicted that there was somebody who was going to show up with a gun. If something had happened here, their defense in the Colorado case would have convicted them, in a civil suit at least, of negligence
but you and I both
liability.
know. But you and I both know there are threats, and then there are actionable threats. And as you say, you can't live your life in fear. I can only imagine how many threats are dialed into New York City landmarks or establishments every day that people have to make judgment calls on what is actionable, what isn't. It's going to happen again now. You know for a fact, everybody, somebody else is going to say, you show that movie, I'm going to do this because I find objectionable on issues of faith.
And then it'll have a chilling effect on the movies that get made. What if somebody wants to make a movie about somebody who's gone through her experiences with an abortion, and the anti-abortion groups, which have killed doctors, say, no, we're going to take offense to this. What if it's a movie that's set in the Israeli settlements?
I know you got to toss to a break, but do you think that if they hadn't released those emails, do you think Sony would take this threat seriously? I don't think so.
I think you're right.
They know, Sony knows they got the goods.
You're onto something, yes. And if they think that by capitulating, those emails won't come out, I think they're as naive as anybody.
They're going to come out anyway.
Gentlemen, and I use that term loosely, thank you very much. When we come back, I'll have a look at some headlines straight ahead.